Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a plan with me for the week of July 10th through the 16th, 2023 using my B5 Archer&Olive notebook. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. Here we are in my B5 Archer&Olive notebook. If you have been following along on Instagram, then you might be aware that I went through a bit of a planner crisis last week. I was going to be moving into a hemlock and oak planner. I tried a couple of times to plan a weekly spread. It did not work out. So fortunately, I had this B5 Archer&Olive notebook, which I decided to put together for the second half of the year. I did go with a lost theme as I did for the first half of the year. I do have some blank pages because this has not been fully set up yet, but I did put together my social media section and planned out for July. I did use some TCMC washi tape for these monthly spreads for my social media section, as well as some letter stamps from Close to My Heart in order to stamp out the months on these calendars. And then I have my little intro page for my monthly and weekly sections. I went a little different with my intro pages for July and decided to try out a 2-page monthly since I haven't done that in a while. Excited to see how that goes. So this week we will be planning in my B5 and we will be planning in a vertical layout. I'm going to be using this really cool stencil from TheCrafter'sWorkshop. I think that's what they're called. And it's from Bowser Designs. I am going to be using the Days of the Week stamps from this set from Elle's Studio. I'll be using the July monthly stamp from this set from PaperPerson, and I will also be using my favorite number stamps from HeidiSwapp. I am going to be bringing in a couple of different Distress Oxides for this week's spread, as well as my black VersaFine ink. Now, I have not used a stencil like the one that I'm using this week from the Crafters Workshop in a little bit of a while, and I really didn't know exactly what I was going to do with this stencil in terms of how I was going to lay color down on it. And you'll see that kind of as I spread across from left to right, I'm a little bit more precise with the way I'm laying down this Distress Oxide color. I really like these 3 different Distress Oxides. I feel like color-wise they flow really nicely together to give you a cool tone spread. So here's what I mean when I wasn't really knowing what I was doing at first. I'm just kind of laying the ink down wherever I want to. But then as I moved on, I decided to start trying to focus each color on specific patterns throughout the spread, or throughout the stencil, I should say. So I'm trying to get a little bit more precise as I'm going along. I think I pulled off what I ended up attempting to do, though again, you can definitely see that my precision gets better as I move from the left to the right of this spread. Now, one of the complicated things about using this stencil is that it does not span a full page in this notebook, which means that I had to use it 3 times across, and I needed to go directly over the spine of the page. So right now I'm in this second section, I guess, and I'm in the middle of where the spine is, and so I try to be as neat as possible here. I tried not to overload my brush with too much of the Distress Oxide because I didn't want it to like leak through or spill through the back of the stencil. And again, as you can see, being a little bit more precise with regards to using specific colors on certain patterned areas of the stencil, trying to vary things up as much as possible in terms of where I'm placing my colors. I did want to have areas where you just had one color in a clump versus areas where one color spans from the top to the bottom of the stencil. Here I am with my purple kind of almost going in a circular fashion with blue right in the middle. And again, definitely a little bit more complex to do the color this way, but I do really like the way that it came out. I think it allowed for some good variability in use of the color, but also still allowed for the stencil to look cohesive, right? And I also think I did a fairly okay job of laying down these stencils across the page so you couldn't really tell where the separation between each stencil was. I was really nervous about that. Now that I'm done with putting down the stencil across the top, I am going to go into the bottom left corner here and put down a little bit of the Distress Oxide. This is where I'm going to put my month, week number, and actual number stamp down. And I do love having a little bit of a colored background here. I just think it adds a little bit of a pop to the bottom of the page. So I basically went over with the same colors in the same areas as I did for the third little section up top, but oriented things a little bit differently so it didn't look exactly similar. And now I'm going in with my July stamp from PaperPerson to put down the month, and then I'll be going in with this week number stamp from Elle Studio, and then lastly it's the 28th week of the year, and so I'm using a 28 stamp from my favorite set from HeidiSwapp. Now that that little cluster is done, we are going to be putting down our dates and days of the week stamps. So I'm going in first with my date stamps. I wanted the numbers to be fully on the patterned area. That way I could have the days of the week stamps kind of half on, half off. I definitely struggled a little bit with putting some of these down. It was really hard to see the dots from the dot grid pattern on the sheet of paper through the stencil that I used. But I think overall it came out okay. I think the only number stamp that looks a little wonky is the 11, but fortunately the other ones look pretty decent. I love these number stamps. They are my favorite stamps that I have. I don't know why I love them so much, but I do. I just feel like I never get sick of them, and I love using them every single week. I actually didn't use them last week in my spread, and I kind of missed them, so I had to make sure to use them this week for sure. After I put down the 16, which is going to be in the same column as our 15, because I do share a column between Saturday and Sunday, I will be going into using my days of the week stamps from Elle Studio. I definitely forgot to kind of mark in the separation between Saturday and Sunday on this spread, so I just eyeballed it as I was putting the spread together. Hopefully it came out pretty even between the 2 days, but if it's a little off, it's okay. As you can see, I'm going in, I'm putting in my days of the week stamps. I'm putting them kind of half on the patterned area, half off the patterned area. Trying to center them in the middle of the columns like I did with my number stamps. Also trying to center them directly below the number stamp. So if this number stamp was a little off, I usually will just go by the number stamp to center things. So yeah, hopefully things look centered. I don't know. It's always so hard to tell in the middle of putting the spread together if I pulled that off or not. Now that I have that final Monday stamp down, we are going to go in with my Micron in 08 to put in the lines to separate each day of the week. Again, I go with this layout that allows for these like double lines between each column, and that's just so that the columns are the same width across, and that I fit 3 on each side of the sheet of paper. If I don't put these double lines in, things get a little weird, and I just don't love the way that that looks. I prefer it when the columns look like they're the exact same width. And after these last few lines here, we are going to be done with this week's spread. I hope you enjoyed this plan with me. It was definitely fun using this stencil to put this spread together. Like I said at the beginning of the plan with me, definitely something I'm not as used to doing, but really hope to do more in the future. As always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.